All right, welcome back in, everybody. Road to Retirement podcast. Tony Marlette Jr. at Brookside Financial, joined as always by Zach Padden, attorney, estate planner extraordinaire. And today we have beyond a special guest. This is kind of like, you know how there's the old adage, the student is now the teacher. This is like the teacher is now the student.
Wow. I can go sit on the other side, get a little more light on me, but good enough.
Well, you don't need an intro, but we're going to give you one anyway. Our owner, Chris Anselmo, is on the show with us today, and we want to talk about asset protection, something that we stress a lot here, not just with long-term care costs, but making sure that you're able to spend your assets that you've worked for the way that you want to.
Sure. I mean, part of it, Tony and our staff does a great job saving money, protecting money, growing money. But at the end of the day, if you're going to lose it all to a nursing home, that was a lot of effort that everybody put in to grow those assets. And, Zach knows too that, nursing homes around our area are probably running close to $12,000 a month.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big things we're seeing people start getting scared of is they'll see their neighbor go in and all of a sudden everything goes away. And they don't realize there's some ways that they can actually protect a lot of their money and their assets so it actually transfers to their family rather than just going towards their care. And that's, I think, Chris, where you, especially knowing the financial and the legal side, have a great expertise on understanding how to balance putting enough assets into a trust versus not funding it correctly.
Yeah, there's several different types of trusts. The vanilla trust that everybody talks about and all the financial planners talk about on TV and on the internet is really designed just to avoid probate. And we want to avoid probate if we can, but that type of trust doesn't do anything to protect assets because you have so much control over those assets. The government Medicaid says, well, if you can control those assets, then they're your assets and you're going to have to spend them down. So we do have a Medicaid asset protection trust. We use our name for it is the Heritage Trust. So it's a completely different type of trust. I think it's like 65 pages long. So if you can't sleep at night, you got something easy to read. You'll be out by page 3. But it's a completely different type of trust. Not all irrevocable trusts are the same. Some are used for life insurance. Some are used for just financial planning. But this is specifically designed to protect assets.
I had this conversation with a client yesterday where he was telling me his two of his family members are in nursing homes. One saved their assets, spent them, is currently spending them on the nursing home. The other one never really had any assets to begin with, got on Medicaid, and they get the same care.
Yeah, because at the nursing home, like the people taking care of you, God bless those people because
oh yeah,
it takes a special person to be able to do that, but they don't know who's paying the bill.
Like, oh, yeah, right. What do
they don't know if it's coming out of your pocket or it's coming from the government. So, so the person who saved hard, worked hard, saved their money is having to spend their own money, and the person who, we're not judging anybody here, but the person who isn't as fortunate could have the government pay for it. So I'm not sure right today when the government shut down, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, but there definitely is the advantage of protecting these assets and putting in these trusts. And the one thing people need to realize is there is a 5-year look back.
Sure.
So when we start doing these trusts, we need to start planning ahead, which Chris and I had the discussion earlier today. Usually your 70s is kind of that ideal time to start really thinking about this because you're still in good health. And then we're looking at how we can get this in there and get to that 5-year window before you would ever need this type of care. Because we don't want to spend anything extra we have to on nursing homes.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it gives you options because people say, well, what if I don't want to go into a Medicaid facility? I'd rather have something ritzier and something nice. Well, you have the option. You could still do that. You're going to have to pay, but if you do none of the planning, then you don't have that option. You're not going to be able to have the government pay for your care. I really think it gets my blood boiling is a guy who's 80 years old or a lady who's 80 years old has probably been paying into the Medicare system since their first paycheck at 15 years old, right? So they've been paying in for 65 years. And when it gets to nursing homes, they don't have any coverage. I mean, you get up to 100 days, but what's 100 days? It's just ludicrous. I mean, the system's broken in that way. Hopefully somebody will fix it someday. They'll have to fund Medicare another way or take more out of our paychecks along the way. But for someone to have coverage, health coverage all the way through then, somebody's trying to call me. Okay. No
Too
calling.
important.
So,
He's too important for the
yeah,
podcast.
what happened to the
Look at
do
this
not
guy.
disturb button on here? So for someone to have, you have, especially once you turn 65, you're on Medicare. So you have health coverage. How is this not just part of healthcare coverage? All of a sudden they cut you off and you don't have any coverage. So they give you up to 100 days, but that's only if you're getting better. So if generally the Medicare is like, you need a new hip, they're going to get you fixed up. You're going to be good in 100 days. But once they determine that you are not getting better, so Tony, God forbid, you went in and they said, look, you got Alzheimer's. You're not getting better, right? You're going to get worse. So they're like, okay, you're out. If you're not getting better, you're out of the system. So it's just kind of cruel and unusual punishment.
I'll use that as an excuse as far as why I waited so long to have children. So I can have my young children take care of my wife and I.
Yeah, there you
go. No, but all kidding aside, so that's a good point that you started the show with, was there's a big difference between, the two types of trusts, one being revocable, one being irrevocable. Zach and I sat with somebody yesterday who's got the revocable, right, and kind of was under the impression that it was protecting some assets. And so we said, no, we need to start talking about an irrevocable.
Yeah. And not all, again, I think people are afraid of the word irrevocable.
They are.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So irrevocable doesn't mean you can't make any changes. I mean, that's the common lay person say, like, you can't make changes. It depends how it's drafted. So we draft it in a way that you have limited powers to make changes. And so you could still have somewhat control. So the big ones are, one, you could change who's ever the trustee and you could change who's ever the beneficiaries. In these type of trusts, you don't make yourself the trustee or the beneficiary. So like, for instance, in my mom's trust, I'm the trustee, me, my brother, and my sister are beneficiaries. So if my mom needed money out of the trust, I can't pay her because she's not a beneficiary. So I would have to give her my own money and then reimburse myself. So it takes an extra step to get there. But the real power she has over it is that if I would say no, actually, I think I need to reimburse myself for some money. Anyhow, if I forgot I gave her some money, but if I would say no, I'm not giving you the money, or not indirectly going to get you the money if you really need it, she could just replace me as a trustee and get someone in, like Zach will say, okay, yes. So if you can control who's the trustee and who's the beneficiaries, you have indirect control over the money, but not so much that the government says it's your money still. So it's a fine line, because if we give you too much control, then the government says it's still your money. So that's why these regular type of living trusts that you hear everybody pitching, from Susie Orman to Dave Ramsey and all those guys, look, they're good for what they do. They avoid probate, and we want to avoid probate, but they do nothing for asset protection.
No,
and what are the stats? 2 out of 3 people? I think we have a flyer here. I mean, 2 out of 3 people
over 70, yeah,
will spend some time in a facility. I mean,
yep.
I just did a CLE the other day. It's up to 70%.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's getting higher and higher. I mean, we're all living longer, thankfully, for the most part. And I think that's causing a lot of these issues, is people are living longer. They can't stay at home. It used to be you'd move in with your kids, but a lot of families aren't in the position to take their elderly parents in. They don't have time to take care of them.
My son's in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. You're not moving to Denver.
No, not anytime soon. But it's too cold. It's colder than Cleveland sometimes.
Not enough golf season there.
Yeah. So, so really, as Zach mentioned, you got to get the clock ticking, because if you don't get it, look, it happened to my dad. So my dad, I asked him to do these trusts years and years ago, and he's like, I'm not doing any of that stuff. My family, everybody just drops dead of a heart attack. We're never going in a nursing home. And to his credit, he had 8 brothers and sisters that all died pretty early. But so and then my dad ended up getting Lewy body's disease, and the last year he needed to get a hip replacement. And when he was getting a hip replacement, my mother out of the blue had to get a knee replacement, so she couldn't watch him. So we put him in a nursing home, and he was still within that 5-year period because he procrastinated and didn't sign the documents like years before. I'm like, Dad, I'm not even charging you. Just sign the papers, right? So sure enough, we spent almost $100,000 in 7 months.
Mm.
My dad was, worked at the West Side Market all his life. He sold potatoes and carrots and watermelons. I mean, $100,000 to save 100. I don't even know how they did it. I mean, they never made $100,000. How do you save $100,000? When you were making $30,000-$40,000 a year and raising a family? But so $100,000 is a lot of money. And we've had clients. They weren't clients. I know acquaintances that have spent $1 million in nursing homes.
Wow.
We had when I was working on a law firm, there was actually his one of the attorney's parents. They were about 10 years apart in age. One went in for 8 or 9 years, and then the other one went in for like 9 years. And this was 25 years ago. They spent $1 million. So
you wouldn't have a trust, an irrevocable trust. You would not have an irrevocable trust or an asset protection trust protecting retirement assets. How come?
So it's not new anymore, but there's a rule in Ohio. It's probably 4 or 5, maybe 4 years old now. It used to be we'd have to liquidate the IRAs and move it into the trust and pay all the tax along the way. But there's a newer rule that says, like, you can keep your IRAs, but if you go in a nursing home and you're asking that the government to pay and you're on Medicaid, that anything above the required minimum distributions you take out has to go to the nursing home. So let's say the nursing home's costing, use around number, $10,000 a month, and Medicaid's paying it, but you have an extra $1,000 that came out. You have to send that to the nursing home. Then Medicaid will pay $9,000, right? So anything above the required minimum distributions, you have to send into you have to apply towards the nursing home. So, and there's different rules because it depends if you're married. The spouse is allowed to keep so much income for the month. So that's just a generic statement. There's a lot of calculations into how much the at-home spouse can keep. They want to make sure the spouse at home is not destitute. So a lot of calculations go into that. And we have another attorney, Matt, that does what we call crisis planning. Matt, so if you don't make the 5 years and you're like, we have people say, look, they're going in 2 months. Like, there's other stuff you can do. It's not as maybe as good as getting the 5-year plan done. But if you don't have those 5 years, then there's something called crisis planning. There's certain Medicaid approved annuities you can buy. There's other things you can do to try and save some of the money. So don't think it's too late if you don't have 5 years and mom or dad's got to go in within shortly. There is other stuff you can do, and it's actually in our book. We did write a book on this. We should have probably held it up. We have a book about protecting assets in nursing homes. I think it's 295 pages long. So again, if you can't sleep at night, you've got something to read. But
yeah, and I think one of the biggest things people do is they're like, well, I don't want to put everything into the trust.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I mean, we have people who just put their house in these trusts because, I mean, look at the price of houses right now. If you get told that you can protect the value of your house plus maybe your brokerage account if you have one, why would you not do it?
Yeah, because there is a rule that you can keep a house, but here, at least here in Ohio, you can keep the house and still qualify for Medicaid. But if Medicaid pays for let's say, Tony, your dad goes in, right? Your mom could keep the house. They keep a running tally of how much they're spending on your dad. And then when your mom passes away or she sells the house or transfer the house, they put a lien on the house to try to recoup that money. Even the transfer and death affidavits that we do, those don't actually protect that because when you go to transfer the house out of the decedent's name, there's a questionnaire that says, were they on Medicaid? And if there is, then they're trying to recoup
There's
it.
a
So,
reimbursement. So
yeah.
why, on the flip side, then why, as far as a retirement account, would somebody, if you had a revocable trust, you could have that as a beneficiary on a retirement account. Why would you not have an irrevocable trust as a
You
beneficiary?
can have it as a beneficiary. You just can't. It can't be the owner, right? So because they're IRAs or individual retirement
Right.
accounts, they can't be
Yep.
owned by trusts. So
Right.
so they can be beneficiaries. So if you have your IRA, so you kept your IRA, you eventually pass away, that IRA can be paid to the trust or paid to your loved ones. Sometimes we pay it to the trust because um, it might be that the beneficiaries aren't good with money and they want somebody actually managing the money for them so they don't spend it all before. When people get inheritances, there's some stats out there. Most of it's gone before within 2 years. So
I mean, I did a revocable trust because once we had a child, and I have Erica as my primary beneficiary, my wife, then the contingent is our trust for our son
yeah,
because he's 2 months old. At any time in the next 18 years, I don't want him to inherit money if something happens to us.
and,
I want it to be held and invested for his benefit.
and now one thing about the Heritage Trust is we do have a back door for changes. So the law firm is on there is something called the Trust Protector. And that's really designed to be able to make changes to the trust. One, like you might have made a Scribner error, you need to change a beneficiary, you got new grandchildren, um, you move to another state, or the law changes. So the law firm can make those changes. We just can't give that power to the grantors or the settlors because then it blows the deal. So I personally, again, I don't think we should have to do all this stuff because I think our healthcare system should pay, but right now it's not. So
What about the 10-year rule then? So say a trust is a beneficiary on an IRA, you don't have the 10-year liquidation. It all goes right to the trust right away.
yeah,
The trust pays the taxes. The assets can last as long as the trust dictates then. Is that
yeah.
right?
So you have options there. You could have the trust pay the taxes, or there's something called a see-through rule. So if you can see through the trust and to see who is the ultimate beneficiaries, you could actually use their life expectancies and or the 10 it's a 10-year rule now. So and down the road, it really we normally make it payable to trust if we're concerned that there's spendthrift provisions or the kids are Zach's kids. I mean, they're too young, right? So, or it's a lot of money and you might not want to give the money all to one kid at one time. So, but the new inheritance rules on IRAs, if you're not a spouse, it has to be gone within 10 years because people were getting greedy. Like grandfather was giving the IRA to his great great grandchild, and
Right. And they're
like, look,
deferring taxes
we're never
generation
getting any
after
of this money.
generation.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
because a great great grandchild probably life expectancy's 80 some years.
Right.
They're not gonna. So spouses still have that option, but not non-spouses.
Right. And then if you're less than 10 years younger,
Correct.
then there are eligible designated beneficiaries. Zach, I thought I was going to be the contingent on your trust. What happened?
Oh, don't worry, we have that hidden in there for you.
You're the contingent. You're the trustee. You can watch the money, right? But you can't spend it on yourself.
And that's the thing too. So many people come in and they're like, "Well, I don't know who to put as trustee." And I think that's something that you really got to think about is who in your family do you trust to handle this for you? And how do you want your
And
family
it
to
doesn't
fund?
have to be your family. It could be anyone you trust, right? I mean, it could be a
Yeah.
friend, it could be a relative. It doesn't have to be a relative. It could be an advisor, as long as they're allowed to do that. Some advisors by rule like you can't be trustee of your client's trust, right? So you'd have to check with them because oftentimes they want to make like their financial advisor, but there's probably some restrictions on that too. And banks are tough because they got it's a big corporate trust department, so they're not as flexible as you might want them to be. But it's all worth a discussion. So if you think you want to try and protect some of those assets, because like Zach said, was it 7 out of 10 people now over? That's
65.
That's a lot. I mean, when I say 2 out of 3, when we do conferences and seminars, I said, look, you know what 2 out of 3 means? That means Tony and Zach are going in because it's never going to happen to me. Right? So it's never going to happen to you. So 2 out of 3, it's you two, right? So, and that kind of sheds light on people. Like 2 out of 3 is a big number, right?
Right.
I mean, if I told you in the long-term care insurance industry doesn't want any piece of this anymore, right? They're trying to,
Oh yeah.
by the way, because look, if I told you 2 out of 3 of your houses are going to burn down, the insurance company's like, well, we're not taking that risk.
It's only
If 2 out of 3 million burn down, we're okay.
Right. It's
So-
only like even for car insurance, it's
Yeah.
only 1 out of 30 people file a car insurance claim. That's 1 out of 30 just for a claim, not even like a devastating accident. So you're right. 2 out of 3 people are using the insurance. They're going to go out of business.
So if you told Allstate, look, I want you to insure these 3 houses and 2 of them are going to burn down, they're like, no, we're not doing it. You want us to insure 3 million houses and 2 of them burn down, we can handle that risk, but you're not going to give them, a few $100s a year, and they're going to take a risk to pay $12,000 a month, right? It's just not going to happen. So you got to look at doing yourself, and like it's not as cheap as doing a regular trust. It's a little more expensive, but if we can protect 60 months worth, or if we could pay, some of these people were protecting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars. I don't know. It's just it's worth a discussion.
Protecting money by pre-planning is the best way to do it. That's simply what it comes down to. Would you rather your money go to your family, or would you rather go to the government?
You worked all your life and you saved hard, and you hired financial planners to make sure you didn't lose it all in the market. I usually tell people when we're doing estate planning, look, 2 things can happen in retirement. It's going to screw it up. You're going to lose a lot of money in the market, and hopefully our advisors won't let that happen. And or you get sick. Those are your two big tickets in retirement. So if you don't get sick and you have a reasonable rate of return on your investments, you should be good. So,
All right. I agree. Good place to end. Any Zach, you want to add anything?
I think if somebody is worried about nursing homes or wants to learn more about this, they can give us a call at 440-886-3550 for Brookside Financial, or at 216-485-1040 for Anselmo & Company Law.
And just obviously, like we say all the time, it's one of the really great things about having all this under one roof. We can refer each other. A lot of times I'm in an appointment or Zach's in an appointment. We rely on each other for the financial and the legal stuff. That's why we're here.
Unless you have Chris, he can do it all.
That's right. He's the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you ever see that joke about like the Swiss Army knife is great, but it doesn't do anything really good. Right? Hopefully that's not us, right? So yeah, it's a dull knife and a bad players, and appreciate the time.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming on, Chris. We
All right.
appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.